everybody. I've got a lot of questions about Medicare and some Social Security things that people are seeing, I don't know, on Facebook or someplace about some extra money or extra benefits we might have. I have no idea. I get the same information you do on Facebook, so I thought, what better person to ask than the Medicare expert himself, Craig Morrison.
Hey there. How you doing?
Hey, Craig. Here's a question that I see a lot. It was on grocery allowance on Medicare. I think it said Medicare Advantage. This question came in from one of my viewers. So it gets up to $900 a month on Medicare Advantage. Can you address that? I don't know how that is, what that is.
Yeah. Well, it falls into the same category as a lot of the Medicare Advantage, what we call add-ons or ancillary benefits. It's actually not part of Medicare, but these particular companies have the right to add different things, maybe to make their plan more attractive. It's actually called the Healthy Food Allowance. And there is only one particular carrier, one insurance company in the Villages area, the Marion, Sumter, Lake County area that offers that. Of course, I'm not going to give you the name right off the bat. I'll be more than happy to talk offline about that, but there is a give and take. So in this particular case, in order to get, when you get that $900 allowance, you are going to be restricted to the providers that you can select. So in other words, you may almost be told what primary care physician you need to go to. That's what you're giving up, the ability to go see a number of different to choose from, that they're going to give you a limited number of primary care physicians that you can see. But yes, it is up to $900 on a healthy food allowance. And they do have different categories of food that you can buy to get that allowance.
Well, how does that work? I mean, how do they know what you buy?
Everything is coded. So what they do is they give you a preloaded card, a preloaded like debit card, if you would. It's kind of like EBT, which is commonly known as welfare in the state of Florida. So there will be certain items, once you give the person your card, it's almost like you have to give them the card first, then they start scanning the items, and then they process the method of payment. So if you had a group of items, just say you wanted to pay for part of it with your $900 allowance, the cashier would know enough to say, okay, we're going to pay for all of these items in this category. Remember, everything's got, a barcode on it these days, so they know which ones. It's much like also going into like a CVS or a Walgreens with your over-the-counter allowance. That again is also a loaded debit card. And when you go into these places, typically the items will have a yellow label in front of them where the price is. And then that will tell you which ones are allowable, which ones aren't. And of course, everything comes to a head when you go to the cashier and use that card to pay. So, you could pay for the items that are covered with the card, and then the items that that aren't covered, you can, use cash or your own credit card, debit card, what have you.
So let me see if I got this clear. For a guy like me, I have Medicare Advantage. I'm with the Villages Health System, with his United Health. So if I wanted to do that, you're saying there's a good possibility that I'd have to get my insurance somewhere else, or I could lose
you would have to go with another company other than United.
Yeah, which I don't want to do that. So if I don't want to do that, then I can't apply for it.
Right. And like I've said before on the broadcast, when you look at these heartthrobs that are trying to sell you Medicare Advantage plans, one day I looked at, I think it was three different people, and so I looked and I said, if everything that they said you could get with the plan that they were offering, what would that look like? And at minimum, you would have to get 4 different Medicare Advantage plans, but obviously you can only get one technically. So in order to get all of those features, it would take 4 different plans, 4 different companies with their different benefits, but obviously you can only choose one. So buyer beware on some of these ads.
Okay, let me throw a scenario out there just really quick. A single person, male, female, makes no difference, elderly, started collecting their Social Security way back when it wasn't the amount that it is today. Let's say they're drawing, I've heard as little as $600, $700, $800 a month.
Correct.
And that's all they got.
Right.
For that person, whether
Mhm.
they'd have to give up a doctor, healthcare, whatever. I don't know the difficulties here, but it seems to me that $900 a month would be important for a person like that.
Mhm. It would definitely be one. And that's kind of where I don't want to say empathetic or sympathetic side of me, but that's why it's so important to sit down with an agent and actually find out what exactly do you need? What are your sources of income? What's important to you? And one thing I might add, and I don't know, it might be in your other questions, but in addition to that, food allowance and the over-the-counter allowance, there are also companies that offer what they call a Part B premium reduction. So in other words, everybody who has Medicare Parts A and B have to pay a premium every month to Medicare. Now, some of these plans offer a reduction, or we could call it a refund, or some of them call them buybacks. So that person who is paying $170.10 this year may very well be able to find a plan that not only has the $900 healthy food allowance, the $40 over-the-counter allowance, but also up to $125 a month in a give back of their Part B premium. Again, when it comes, when the rubber hits the road and, money's tight, sometimes giving up the ability to choose whatever primary care physician you want may go by the wayside because it makes more sense. The dollar goes further if you get all these allowances.
I'm also hearing rumors that there are certain Medicare plans now that offer dental and hearing aid expenses.
Mm-hmm. So a Medicare Advantage plan, by and large, will offer hearing, dental, and vision. But you have to be very careful, especially in the dental area. And I'm going to make a delineation between preventative dental and comprehensive dental. Preventative dental is your, comprehensive oral exam, your x-rays, your cleaning, and maybe a fluoride treatment. So that's preventative. And most of these Medicare Advantage plans that offer these dental plans are very good at that aspect of it. However, when you start crossing the line into extractions, fillings, bridges, crowns, etc., now you're going into the comprehensive area, and that's where the benefits get very lean. Again, buyer beware, depending on what you need in the coming year for your dental needs. Either a Medicare Advantage plan is going to be fine on its own for preventative reasons, or you may have to go out and get a standalone plan for the comprehensive part of things. One other item I might want to, again, caution your listeners about is the cleaning, okay? A Medicare Advantage plan will pay for what they call a regular cleaning. There seems to be a consensus amongst the dentists in the Villages area that people over 65 years of age need a deep cleaning. Now, there's a cost differential between those. So a preventative cleaning will be paid for by Medicare Advantage. However, a deep cleaning, more of a periodontal cleaning, is going to cost you out of pocket an additional $45. I don't have a problem with that, except when the Medicare recipient makes an appointment with a dentist and is not told until checkout that they had a deep cleaning and they have a $45 bill due. So again, just be careful. If you do have periodontal, gum disease, things of that nature, you're going to know it probably by now. And that's where you're going to want to maybe get a standalone policy to cover that, or possibly pay out of pocket a couple times a year.
So if anybody gets in contact with you, you can kind of guide them down the road on that.
By all means. In fact, not to name names, but the one of the plans that I really took me a long time to find, but I'm really squared up with now, has a list price that the provider has to honor. That's another thing that happens quite often in my informal survey of my, many hundreds of clients here in the area, is that you can go to 7 different dentists in this area and get 7 different prices. So this particular plan that I offer for comprehensive has a list price that has to be honored by the provider.
Well, that's good. Okay, one other question real quick. Anybody else that sends me questions by email, I'll save them and I'll have you come back again and we'll answer them later down the road because I know you got to go. You're busy. It's about Social Security. Somebody said something about they were supposed to get one of the largest increases, I guess, in the last 40 years or something on our Social Security, a cost of living raise.
Right.
He wants to know, how is that figured and when are we going to start getting it?
So how it's figured is that there's a little black box up in the Washington, D.C. area that, all kidding aside, it is a legislated increase that happens or doesn't happen every year. So your legislators, the House and the Senate, will make recommendations and pass legislation that will allow an increase or no increase or a decrease. So it all originates in Washington, first of all. And when you get that is typically at the first of the year. So regardless of when your birthday is, regardless of when you started, the month you started getting Social Security, everything typically goes into effect on January 1st. So your automatic direct deposit check will reflect that increase. The nice thing about the increase this year, because last year there was a kind of a record increase as well, is that the Part B premium that I referred to for Medicare is actually going down. So it's $170.10 in 2022. It's going to be $164.90 in 2023. So you're getting an increase in your earning power, and you're also getting a decrease in your fixed cost of Medicare.
Well, that's weird. I was going to say that led me to my next question. I was going to say, well, if we're getting an increase in our benefits, then how much is the Medicare going to cost us now?
Right. Yeah. Usually they follow one another, just like Mutt and Jeff. But this year that's not the case, which is good. That's good news.
Okay. Well, how's things going right now? We'll get out here real quick. I'll leave you with the last words. How's business? Are you staying busy? Are people calling you?
Yeah, it's incredible the number of people who are moving to this area. Who either have been on Medicare and are looking for either a local plan, a local agent, or both. We're getting people, obviously, every day of the year who turn 65. We're getting a lot of people who are retiring, both pre and post 65. So the situation with the post 65 is they haven't gotten Part B because their employer has had a plan in place. So they've been able to defer or put off that decision past their 65th birthday. So when they retire and move here, they've got to go through that process. And then the ones who aren't 65, I've coined a phrase called a bridge policy. So what we're doing is we're bridging the gap between their current age and age 65 until they turn, become eligible for Medicare. So that there's a lot of different dynamics. As you well know, just the sheer volume of the population increase here is incredible. And, whether people realize it or not, at least from the ones that I see on a daily basis, right now, over the last 6 months, there's been as many people under 65 as there have been 65 or older, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are lucky enough that my dad actually was one of them before all this stuff even started. He started working at General Motors at 18. 30 years later, he's 48.
Right.
But they had an age limit then. You had to be 55 years old.
Right.
So he retired at 55. And my cousin, though, when they finally took that age limit out of 30 and out no matter what, he actually retired from General Motors at 48. Now, how lucky is that?
That's amazing. Yeah, there's one other thing, too, I want to caution people about during this time of year. Of course, you do have the ability to change your plans and things of that nature. Waiting till the last minute, like any deadline, is not recommended. Address that as soon as you can. And also, whether you're changing plans or not, make sure that you make your appointments with at least your primary care doctor now for 2023. We do have a shortage of primary care physicians in this area, whether it be, a private practice that you use or the largest healthcare provider in the area, the Village's Health. They're very strapped as far as the number of patients they can see. They call that a panel. So each doctor has a certain number of patients they can have in their panel, and one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to see a nurse practitioner, which, I hope we don't get any nasty grams about that. I love nurse practitioners and physician's assistants and things like that. But the people that I work with seem to want to see the doctor. So either they're going to push your appointment out into February, or like I said, you're going to see one of his staff or her staff. Beware of that. That's something that you can do right now that is proactive. And again, if there's anything I can ever do, questions I can answer, then please do so.
Wow, that just answers a lot of questions too, because here lately I've been seeing our nurse practitioner on a regular basis. I haven't seen a real doctor.
Yep. Well, that's what.
No problem with it though, because our nurse practitioner, I think I get along with her better than I do the doctor.
Right. And like I said, I love nurse practitioners, ARNPs, physician's assistants. I've got good relationships with all of them. Some people, though, are very particular if they signed up for a particular doctor that they want to see them. So
okay, Craig, we're shooting 19 minutes here, and
okay, good.
I'll probably get it down about 15, 16 minutes, and that's about as far as I want to go with it. So I'll leave you with the last word if you want to, and then we'll end it.
Yeah, just again, this is a time of the year where you can review. You don't have to make changes. You can review your coverage. Some of the best ways to do that is just to have another set of eyes on it. Whether it's somebody that's knowledgeable, your neighbor, an agent like myself, who's a broker representing multiple companies. But it is, you're doing yourself a favor by reviewing your policy every year, if nothing more than your drug coverage, because I know the prescriptions change from, month to month, year to year, and it's always good to check on those, make sure they're covered, what they're going to cost you, and things like that. Other than that, that's about it.
Thanks for coming by, Craig. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Skip. Thank you.